All right, so this time we're diving into Guild1. They've got this whole stack of awards and recognition, Aztec Award, Deloitte Technology, Fast 50, even Forbes Blockchain 50 is in the mix. Kind of makes you wonder what they're doing that's got everyone's attention right.
See, that's the thing. You'd think with all that buzz, they'd be all about the latest crypto craze, but that's not really their game.
Yeah, the articles threw me off a bit too at first. Like, clearly they're doing something right, but I couldn't quite put my finger on it.
It's because they're all about applying blockchain, not just, I don't know, hyping it up, I guess.
All right.
And they've really found their niche in a place you wouldn't expect, the energy
Different
sector.
sector. Okay, now you've got my attention. So we're talking, what, oil rigs and pipelines going digital with ones and zeros?
Exactly. But before we get too deep into the how, maybe we should make sure we're all on the same page about this blockchain thing. Think of it like a digital record book. But instead of one company or bank controlling it, it's shared across a whole network of computers.
So instead of, say, relying on a bank to process a transaction and keep track of everything, you've got this whole network doing the heavy lifting.
Right. Every transaction is encrypted, verified by multiple parties. Makes it way more secure, way more transparent.
Gotcha. So it's not just about Bitcoin or Ethereum then. This has implications beyond just the whole cryptocurrency world.
Exactly. Think about any industry that relies on complex supply chains, contracts, tons of data. That's where companies like Guild1 step in, using blockchain to streamline things, cut costs, build trust in a way we haven't really seen before.
Okay, so let's talk specifics then. One of these articles mentioned Guild1 pulled off the world's first blockchain oil and gas royalty transaction back in 2018. What's the significance of that?
Well, that was a pretty pivotal moment, actually.
Yeah.
Guild1 created this thing called the royalty ledger, operating on their energy block exchange, EBX for short. Basically, it's a blockchain platform built specifically for the complexities of energy transactions.
So instead of relying on old paper-based systems, they created a digital space where these transactions could happen with more security and more transparency.
You got it. Traditional royalty payments in the energy sector, those are notoriously complicated. You've got multiple companies with stakes in a single well, landowners, fluctuating prices. It can take ages to sort it all out.
Yeah, and I bet that leads to disputes, paperwork piling up, not exactly a picture of efficiency.
Exactly. But with Guild1's system, everything's automated, transparent, tamper-proof. Benefits everyone involved.
Makes sense. And I'm guessing that kind of efficiency is pretty appealing to the big players. This wasn't just a proof of concept, was it? Didn't they actually get some big-name partners on board for this?
Oh, absolutely. They partnered with ExxonMobil, even joined the Blockchain-for-Energy consortium. We're talking real-world application here, putting this technology into action on a much larger scale.
So what were they actually tackling? I mean, I'm hoping it's more than just making those royalty payments a little bit faster.
Oh, it goes way deeper than that. We're talking joint venture interest billing, making sure everyone gets their fair share from a project. They even streamlined the approval process for new drilling projects that can be incredibly complex and time-consuming.
So streamlining some of the most archaic processes in the energy sector with blockchain. Interesting. But then I saw something even more intriguing. Guild1 working with Project Forest and the Swan River First Nation. That doesn't exactly scream oil and gas to me.
And that's where things get really interesting. Guild1 is taking blockchain's transparency and traceability and using it to promote sustainability and conservation efforts.
Wait, so we're talking using cutting-edge tech not just to make businesses more efficient, but to address some of the world's most pressing environmental challenges?
You got it. Ensuring the origin of timber, proving it's harvested responsibly, even directly benefiting indigenous communities. It really is remarkable what they're doing. It's not just about applying blockchain in a new way, it's about the success they're actually seeing.
Yeah.
All those awards we were talking about, those weren't just for, like, tech innovation. Those were for serious business achievements.
Right, like that Deloitte Technology Fast 50 award. You don't just get that for having a cool product. They're looking at real business results, right?
Exactly. To even be considered, you need to show major revenue growth over several years, Guild1 being included. That tells you something about how well they're connecting their blockchain expertise with actual business value.
So they're not just tech savvy, they're business savvy too. They get that innovation without profit. Well, that's just a hobby.
Exactly. And you see it in their growth too. Back in 2019, the Globe and Mail recognized them as one of Canada's fastest growing companies. Their 3-year revenue growth at the time, a whopping 485%.
485%. Okay, that's not growth, that's I don't even know. And they're pulling this off in the energy sector, which, let's be real, isn't exactly known for being on the bleeding edge of tech.
You've hit on something important there. GuildOne's success, it challenges that whole perception of the energy industry being slow-moving, resistant to change. They're showing that even in those traditional industries, there's a real hunger for innovation, especially when it gets results.
It's like they're showing the old guard how it's done, and not by tearing the whole system down, but by making it better.
Right. Guild One isn't saying ditch all your traditional business practices. They're about enhancing them. They saw this pain point, this reliance on outdated processes, and offered a way to make those processes more efficient, more transparent, more secure.
And that brings us back to those awards, right? It wasn't just about revenue or business smarts. Guild One was also recognized for what they're bringing to the blockchain space itself. They're not just using the tech, they're helping to shape it.
Absolutely. They're members of the Blockchain Research Institute, the BRI. That's a global think tank. Some of the biggest brains in blockchain are part of it.
Huh.
It's not just about networking. It shows how committed they are to pushing the entire field forward.
So they're right there with the leading thinkers, the researchers, the innovators in blockchain. I bet that gives them some incredible insights into where things are headed.
For sure. They're at the forefront of this whole technological revolution, constantly learning, collaborating, pushing the boundaries. And it shows in the awards, too. Like, they won that Web3 and blockchain world Blockchain for Good award.
Blockchain for Good. Okay, that one definitely piqued my interest. What makes that award different? What did Guild One do to earn that?
That award isn't about being the most technically impressive. It's about impact. Remember their work with Project Forest and the Swan River First Nation? That project really sums up what it means to use blockchain for social good.
Right, tracking timber origins, supporting indigenous communities. It's wild how they took this tech that people usually associate with, like complex financial stuff, and applied it to something like sustainable forestry.
And that's what makes Gold One so interesting, right? They're not just talking about the potential, they're actively showing it, addressing real-world challenges, making a difference.
It's like they're walking the walk, proving that blockchain can be a force for good, not just a tool for profit. What about some of their other collaborations, though? We keep coming back to ExxonMobil, and I'm curious to unpack that a little more.
Yeah, let's dig into that. Their partnership with ExxonMobil, that's a prime example of how even these massive companies are waking up to what blockchain can do.
Yeah, I mean, it's one thing for a smaller tech company to be all about the latest and greatest, but when you've got a giant like ExxonMobil getting on board, that tells you something, right?
For sure. ExxonMobil isn't just dipping their toes in the water here. They've been seriously exploring how they can use blockchain. They see how it could change their whole business.
One of these articles mentioned this pilot project they did focusing on ExxonMobil's voting processes. Apparently, they were still using paper ballots. Can you believe it? And we're talking about some pretty major decisions here.
Paper ballots.
Sure.
Seriously. In this day and age, talk about a logistical nightmare waiting to happen.
Right. I can only imagine the delays, the potential for errors. It just sounds so inefficient.
It was, and that's where Guild One comes in. They moved the whole thing onto a blockchain platform. Secure, transparent, no chance of messing with the results. Decisions happen faster, projects move forward, and everyone had this clear, auditable record of how the vote went down.
So instead of waiting weeks for someone to count up all those paper ballots, decisions could be made instantly. With way more transparency, less risk of something going wrong. I bet that's a game changer in an industry like energy where things move so fast.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it doesn't stop there. They're also working together on royalty payments using Guild One's royalty ledger system. And what's really interesting is how they're both involved in that blockchain for energy consortium.
That's the one that really caught my eye, too. It's not just one company calling all the shots. It feels much more collaborative, right?
Definitely. Brings all these major players together, ExxonMobil included, to set some standards, share knowledge, make sure everyone benefits as blockchain takes hold. They get that the real power comes from working together, building a system that's connected and actually works for everyone.
So instead of fighting over who gets to control the tech, they're cooperating.
Exactly. A rising tide lifts all boats, as they say.
And that's a lesson that goes way beyond just the energy sector. Any industry trying to navigate this whole digital world could learn a thing or two from that.
Couldn't agree more. Guild One, even though they're a relatively new company, they seem to get that. They're not just building products, they're building relationships. They want to be seen as those trusted guides in this whole blockchain world.
It's like they've cracked the code, not just the technology, but how to actually build a successful business in a world that's changing so fast. focusing on real problems, baiting trust, showing what this technology can really do. That's how they've set themselves apart.
Totally. It really shows their vision. They saw how blockchain could be used in the real world, and they weren't afraid to jump in and make it happen.
Who would have thought that the world of oil and gas would become this hotbed of blockchain innovation? GuildOne's story, if it tells us anything, is that innovation can come from the most unexpected places, and that sometimes the best way to move forward is to work together. Makes you excited to see what they do next.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. This is just the beginning.